The year is 536 AD. In Byzantium, the sun rises, but it brings no light. It hangs in the sky like a ghost, a blue, sickly disk that casts no shadows. The air tastes like copper and ash. There is no wind, no bird song, only a crushing, unnatural silence. Across Europe, China, and the Americas, a dry, dark fog is swallowing the world. Summer arrives, but the frost stays. Snow falls in the month of August. The crops are turning to black slime in the fields. People are looking at the sky and realizing the terrifying truth. The sun has been turned off. It will stay this way for 18 months. This isn't a myth. This is the worst year to be alive in human history. But here's the mystery. There were no factories then, no pollution. So what had the power to black out the sun for an entire year? And why did the survivors find something impossible buried deep inside the ice of the North Pole? History usually remembers kings and wars, but in 536, history stopped. Contemporary chroniclers from Ireland to Japan all described the same nightmare. They called it the Veil. Imagine waking up every day for a year and a half in a world of twilight. The temperature plummeted. It was the coldest decade in 2,000 years. In China, the yellow dust fell like snow. In Scandinavia, the Vikings abandoned their golden halls, believing the end of the world, the Winter, had finally arrived. Archaeologists found a strange clue in the tree rings of ancient oaks. The rings for the year 536 are almost non-existent. The trees literally stopped growing. They were suffocating. But what was the fog made of? If you walked through it, you didn't cough. It wasn't smoke from a fire. It was a dry, sulfurous mist. For decades, we thought it was a comet hitting the Earth, a cosmic winter. But the clues didn't fit. A comet would have left a crater we could see from space. There was no crater, just a planet full of starving, freezing ghosts. Picture the Roman Empire at its twilight. The grain stores are empty, the bread is gone. Hunger has a specific smell, a sweet, sickly scent of decay. The social fabric isn't just tearing, it's dissolving. When the sun doesn't shine, the gods are dead. But then the fog started to clear, the light returned. And that's when the real horror began, because the darkness had been a mask for something much smaller and much deadlier. As the temperatures rose, a flea hitched a ride on a black rat in a grain ship from Egypt. The darkness of 536 led directly to the plague of Justinian, the first global pandemic. 10,000 people were dying in Constantinople every single day. The city ran out of graves. They had to stuff the corpses into the towers of the city walls until the smell forced them to stop. It felt like a targeted execution of the human race. But everything we thought about the sunless year was wrong. We blamed the gods. We blamed comets. But in 2018, a team of scientists drilled a core of ice from a Swiss glacier. They weren't looking for fossils. They were looking for atoms. And they found a microscopic layer of volcanic glass. But here's the twist. It wasn't from a volcano in Europe or Asia. The culprit was an eruption in Iceland, so massive, so violent, that it turned the entire northern hemisphere into a gas chamber. But wait, Icelandic eruptions happen often. Why was this one different? The ice core revealed a second glitch. Just as the first fog began to clear in 540 AD, a second volcano erupted, then a third in 547. It wasn't one bad year, it was a volcanic firing squad. The Earth had essentially declared war on its inhabitants. But there was one final discovery in that ice core that made the scientists' blood run cold. Think about the timing. The Roman Empire didn't just fall, it was frozen out. The Moche civilization in Peru vanished because the rain wouldn't stop.
The Anglo-Saxons rose because the Roman defenses were manned by skeletons. We like to think we are in control of our destiny, but 536 AD proves that we are guests on a very temperamental planet. One mountain in Iceland shifted its weight and it rewrote the map of the world. It ended the ancient world and gave birth to the Middle Ages. But why did I mention the impossible object in the ice at the beginning? In that same Swiss glacier, right next to the volcanic ash of 536, scientists found lead, pollution. Lead is only present in ice when humans are smelting silver. The lead levels in the ice were high until exactly 536. Then they flatlined, total zero. The pollution stopped because the economy of the world had collapsed so completely that no one was mining silver anymore. For 100 years, the ice is literally clean. It's the literal footprint of a dead civilization. The impossible object wasn't a tool or a treasure. It was the absence of us. Today, we look at the sky and see clouds. We take the sun for granted. But 536 AD is a reminder. We are only one dry fog away from the dark. The sun hasn't turned off in 1,500 years, but the volcanoes are still there. And the ice remembers everything.